Journey to Mars by Gustavus W. Pope. To my readers. In this day and generation, preeminently distinguished for the rapid progress of science, mechanical arts, and inventions, evolution of ideas, and interchange of thought, when the advancement of yesterday is but a prelude to that of today, and the progress of today prefigures that of tomorrow, the world and society are compelled to accept the dictum, si temporis accommodare tempore servere. In the domain of current literature, this progressive change is displayed, many kinds of which vary with the opinions, manners, tastes, and fashions of the times. Particularly so is this seen in the field of popular fiction, in which regard we, as a nation of readers, are not unlike the old Athenians whom St. Paul speaks. For all the Athenians and strangers were there spent their time in nothing else but either to tell or to hear something new. It is generally admitted that the day of the so-called sensational novel and sensational play is drawing to a close. This is due not so much perhaps to the gradual elevation of what is termed moral tone as to the fact that the public are already surfeited with both. Now, not a few careful and discerning critics have also expressed the firm conviction that the so-called society novel also will ere long be numbered with things of the past, and that what may be termed the scientific novel will appear as derisitum in the near future. It has been held by some persons that scientific romances, the scenes and dramatis personae of which are laid on distant spheres, are impracticable, owing to certain inherent difficulties of a scientific nature involved in the undertaking. And furthermore, such romances, being outside of and beyond the mundane sphere, are necessarily beyond the pale of human interest and sympathy, like the lives of mythological divinities, loves of angels, creation of fairyland, and oriental romances. It is perhaps needless to add that the author cannot subscribe to this view. It may be assumed, in strict accordance with the spirit of science, philosophy, and religion, as well as analogy, that humanity created in the image of God must necessarily and always be the same in essential being and nature, on whatever habitable planet of our solar system it may find its home, sphere of action, environment, and is wholly contrary to reason and analogy to assume otherwise. In other worlds than ours, therefore, may present as rich and inviting a field to the philosopher, poet, and romanticist as they always have and always will to the astronomer and scientist. Fiction is simply that department of literature, constructive art, whose creation appeals mostly to our emotions, feelings, and sensibilities, presenting its scenes and characters like pictures to the eye of the mind, as creations of the painter do the eye of the body. With the requisite amount of imagination and fancy, combined with other qualifications which constitute the sine qua non to the novelist, and also a reasonably fair acquaintance with physical science, in which latter many excellent writers of fiction are more or less deficient, it is quite possible to construct romances appertaining to other worlds. Neither is it necessary to resort, in such works, so often the case with some writers, to the fantastical, grotesque, or monstrous creations of the crude and riotous fancy, nor, what is still more reprehensible, to any violations of the laws and principles of science. G.W.P., Washington, D.C., January 1894.